Hello, everyone. I'm Mystery.
And I am Mortimer the Authenticator, and we are the Duality of Man. Whoo boy, that title is gonna get us in trouble, huh?
Uh, I suspect so. But I just want to open up the stream by saying Happy Stolzmanat.
Hmm.
For those of you who aren't aware, that is a new month of national pride coming from the German people.
I
Uh,
uh, again the quote mining began before we even started the stream. On the
like,
one hand, yay national pride. On the other, why did it have to be the Deutsch?
yeah, I remember, seeing videos of this guy with a funny mustache talking about the pride of Deutschland.
I yeah I again I am definitely on team the Germans shouldn't feel generational guilt over the whole Holocaust thing, but at the same time I think I speak for most people in the Western world when I say when Germans start talking about pride, it might be time to start talking the bunker.
Well, there is a reason this came about, and that is because the Germans got sick of their government, going crazy during Pride Month. In fact, I've seen a lot of countries sick of their government going crazy during Pride Month.
I mean good for them. Like I'm gay and I'm sick of Pride Month, so it's behold, I hereby offer my gay card to all the people who have issues with Pride Month, because it's not just it's not. I hereby decree that it's not about homophobia. It's just about arbitrary moral and ideological meddling in the public sphere.
Yeah, the Germans have appropriated uh, both the Pride flag and the progressive Pride flag, where the first one is instead of rainbow colors, it's just the colors of the German flags in consecutive lines. And in the Progress Stolzmann flag, it's the German colors in lines, and then like this chevron with a crest coming from the side.
Again, I good for Germany for finally getting over the white guilt. But at the same time, isn't there a happy medium somewhere between here and there that we could have landed in?
Well, it's not just Germans. No, anyone can celebrate Stolzmann. I've seen, Greek flags. I've seen American flags, UK flags, uh, flags from, I believe, Egypt, um, Japan, just any any country can celebrate this is to show their pride in their nation. So it's
Hmm.
not you know particularly specifically German pride, although they were the ones who started
Yeah,
it.
but again, that's where it started, and that's where I'm like, good for national pride, bad that it's Germany. Why did it have to? Why did it have to be Deutschland?
I mean, we are heading into the mid 21st century.
Yeah, that that's sort of what worries me. Everybody arm the nukes preemptively is all I'm saying.
Just watch out for any funny failed Austrian painters.
Yeah, just like all German art schools should be closed for the foreseeable future. Just throwing that out there.
Maybe no, maybe they should be open because if he had actually
Yeah.
gotten an art
Okay.
school, they
Okay.
would
Yeah.
just
Fair
simply
enough.
avoid it.
No one gets blacklisted from any art schools in Germany for the next 20 or 30 years, and we should be good.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, the politicians are not happy about this because they want the people to celebrate what they want them to celebrate. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but in German politics, civic pride isn't something that's really encouraged. I don't believe because there's this famous video of former Chancellor Angela Merkel where this guy was waving a German flag at a rally. She took the flag and just threw it off to the side. Clearly not the right
Again, it
prioritization.
seems like the Germans can only oscillate between generational guilt and worrying behavior. So again, I must point out that there has to be some kind of Goldilocks zone here. Make like the Black Forest in you Germany and find the Goldilocks zone. But at the same, like obviously, I'm mostly taking the piss out of this, even though there is a part of me that's like, ooh, cyclical nature of history and all.
I have a solution. Just make every day Oktoberfest, and then they'll be too drunk to cause trouble.
Okay, fair enough. And that actually wouldn't be terrible. But in any case, like obviously, I'm mostly taking the piss. I have no problem with Germans getting over their generational white guilt. Um, because my God, did they ever go hard into the white guilt paint? I once got into an argument with somebody underneath a Robin Williams stand-up video, where it was a German guy, and he was mocking the fact that, oh, Americans can just make jokes about the Nazis all the live long day. I don't understand how that works. And it's like I tried to explain to him the notion that mocking the Nazis actually reduces their power over the world, but he didn't take. And I mostly just felt bad for him at the end of the day. But yeah, that doesn't mean I want to see it swing full the other way, because there's 2 or 3 ways I think I would be an Untermensch, but I digress.
I have a tweet here from a German Twitter user talking about stealth not. Would you like me to try reading it in the original German?
We're already gonna get quote mined. I'm not sure if we should just go. We should just go with it and go full springtime, or if we should or to not get deplatformed from YouTube.
Why not? It's not saying anything bad.
I know,
Depending
but
on what you
that
stand.
title and the aforementioned bit of German pride, and then speaking random German, I think what's his name that replaced Susan would have a aneurysm.
I'm gonna read it anyway. I mean, there are German users on Twitter speaking German, so you can't ban someone just for speaking the
No,
language
but I
German.
mean context.
See, der Pride Month ist weder Maskenpflicht und zwar wird es im nichts. Monat kommt ganz natürlich und muss medial unterdrückt werden. I apologize to the people of Germany for my terrible pronunciation of their language.
Yeah, don't gas us, please.
Let's see. Is the English translation. The Pride Month is like the mask requirement. Without compulsion, it disappears into nothingness. Stillsmanat comes naturally and has to be suppressed by the media.
I mean, that's not wrong.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely true. And I've seen a bunch of people, calling this, anti-gay, anti-LGBT. But how is having, pride in your country anti-gay? Gay people can celebrate Stolzmann. Like,
Yo, I am gay as Rainbow Sherbert, and I have pride in my country, and I have pride in several other people's countries as well. Which is the other thing. You don't have to be a myopic nationalist. You can respect everyone's, unique national virtues, because as an American, I can acknowledge a lot of the things we got from the British, the British people that we revolted against, and all of the Italians, and all of the Polish, and all of the Germans, and all of the Jews, and all like uh, American nationalism is, in many ways, an acknowledgement of the Great American Melting Pot from Schoolhouse Rock. So I can be a American civic nationalist and also be an Anglophile and a Francophile and a lover of Scandinavian culture and Chinese culture and all the other like that's the thing. I don't I don't think nationalism is necessarily opposed to what, for lack of a better word, you could, I guess, call multiculturalism or internationalism. It's the powers that be in the modern intelligentsia and the governments that insist that it's either nationalism or multiculturalism. It can never be both. Never mind that again, America is the we are the lovable mutt of the world. We are the non purebred breed in the world, and in some ways that makes us better because we can take all the good bits from all the other countries, put our own little spin on them, and form a new tapestry. From America is basically a patchwork quilt. We take the best bits from all the other nationalities and cultures, and we weave them together into a
Yes,
new,
but
distinct thing.
our culture is also unique itself. I mean, when people travel all over the world, um, like I've seen people from a foreign country say you instantly know who the American is just by the way he talks and the way he you know uh,
Holds himself
moves.
and carries
Yeah,
on and so on. Yeah.
yeah. Just by his bearing, you can tell that he's American. So there is a sort of national identity that may be difficult for us to see, but people who are not American can absolutely see.
Well, and that comes out of the aforementioned take the best bits from everyone else and mold them into a new thing. It's an emergent property of being the offspring of all the shoulders on which we stood, as it were.
Yes, and anyone can have this kind of civic pride. It's not something that divides people. It's a uniting idea.
Yeah, because every country has some virtue somewhere, something interesting that is uniquely theirs that makes them worth considering. That's one of the reasons I want to travel the world someday is not because I'm a hashtag citizen of the world 2030. You will own nothing. You will live in the pod, eat the bugs, own nothing, and be happy sort of person. It's because I acknowledge that there are unique virtues to Britain, and there are unique virtues to the other British Isles, and there are unique virtues to France, and unique virtues to all the European countries, and all the African countries, and all the Asian countries. Like, there are things that are uniquely interesting and worthwhile in every nation. And rather than go, oh, the things that make our countries unique are oppressive and should be abolished and for the name of the conglomerated, one world uh unistructure is bullshit. You would lose too much worthwhile. You would lose too many worthwhile things if you did that. The best way of going about it is, again, you take the best bits of every country, you scoosh them together, and you appreciate them all.
See, I have another tweet here from a German about Stolzmann. Says, "Friends, patriots, Germany, day 14 is coming to an end. I, a commoner, a worker, oh God, it's the other German, am deeply touched by what you are doing. Be proud, you are Germany. Never forget that." And it has like an AI generated picture of this blonde haired, blue eyed woman in like armor holding a sword with the sun rising behind her. It's actually a pretty nice image.
I But blonde hair, blue eyes. Again, I'm trying not to see it, but I'm seeing it. Uh,
I mean, to be fair, given his comments, he might be sided with the other German.
yeah, but in any case, I do like the subtle little Shakespeare reference, the friend Roman countrymen uh thing. I don't know if that was an intentional Shakespeare reference, but I choose to believe it.
Yeah, probably. But Germany isn't the only country who is doing something different than Pride Month. In Italy, they're trying to promote Family Month, where this is a month where you take time to celebrate your families, your loved ones, the people that are important to you, which again is a good message to have, and it's something that can unite people. You know, everybody has family. Everybody has people in their lives that they care about and who care about them. So I think
And
it's
even if it's not a biological family, even if it's the modern cliche is the idea of the found family, the people you choose to be family with, rather than the people you were, you know, biologically connected to.
yeah, and this is the kind of thing they're trying to promote because I do you believe that pride is a has become something that is divisive?
Well, considering that I get told that I have internalized homophobia because I don't like Pride, yes, I think I can confirm that that Pride is becoming more and more divisive, and I don't want to use the word degenerate because degenerate is one degenerate is one of those words similar to genocide where unless you use it in a very, very narrow and specific term, it is a hysterically charged hyperbolic term. But there are ways in which I mean, for fuck's sake, the map advocacy. Do I even need to like that alone is a nuke it from orbit approach, in my
I
opinion. Like,
mean,
nope,
did
just
you hear about the uh trans woman that got banned from the White House because she went to a White House Pride event and did a video topless?
oh the NIMBYism, oh the not in my backyardism. And it does unironically remind me of January 6th. Oh sure, you can have a uh autonomous zone that lasts all the way through almost for almost a month during the summer of George Floyd. But don't you dare come and do it on the White House, or you will be considered on par with 9/11. Derp.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And given some of the things that we've seen people do at Pride months or and Pride parades the last couple of years, like they they either didn't know who this person was or they just didn't care, and then they just reprimanded them whenever they started getting flack because they did this.
And it's interesting that it's a trans woman because unless I'm misapprehending the terminology here, if it's a trans woman, that suggests that they were biologically, you know, male. And
Yeah, they were biologically male, but I think they
men
had
being shirtless isn't a criminalized thing.
yeah, I think they had implants, so it would look like
Oh, okay. Well, then that's a slightly different story, but I still find that interesting.
yeah. But let me tell you about
At least they weren't that one shop teacher's implants, I hope.
no,
Because
and
if it was that kind of implant, then by all means, yes, suspend them entirely.
they say in defense that pride isn't a sexual thing, but every time they do, like, they have an event or something, they make it sexual.
Well, but also, what the hell does that even mean? If you're celebrating being gay without any deference to sexuality, then how you do that is my question. Like I don't. And again, I'm fine with this when it's specifically just adults and when you're not considered immoral for not liking it. But when it does become, oh, let's have pride events in schools, and it would be, and in my opinion it would be the same way if it were people extolling the virtues of missionary in schools and what have you. Like, no, I don't agree with either of those things, because until you are of the age when it makes sense to actually put you in a sex ed class specifically for the purpose of discussing these matters, you should not be like I was in sex ed class, I think, when I was 15, maybe 16. That's a good age for that, because that's the age when kids will organically stumble upon the idea of sex on their own regardless. But there are people doing this with, 5, 6, 7 year olds, and no, the answer is no. Like, but by the same token, I wouldn't have a problem with, just acknowledging that gay people exist for those kids. Like, if you wanted to show kids a movie like, say, Leica's Paranorman, I don't have any problem with that. In the same way, I don't have any problem with you showing kids Snow White. Like, if the prince kissing Snow White isn't straight propaganda, then, kids being introduced to Mitch Down in the movie Paranorman is also not gay propaganda. But there is a line where it actually does meaningfully become gay propaganda, and that's when you put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year olds into a sex ed class that basically should be reserved for people who are approaching the level at which they might be physically able to be sexually active.
Yeah. Also, like, there is a way to teach somebody something without propagandizing it to them. Like, you make it, neutral. You make it informative. You give,
You make it a
the
subject matter and not a moral or political issue.
yeah, because the way they're going about it now is it's like something, celebratory or something to be
This,
praised.
this,
It's
this
not
is how
really
you be a
something.
good person, kids. Pay attention.
Yes, and there was a video going out of a school where the teacher was going to show them this video for Pride Month, and all the kids just like cringed extremely loudly. You could hear it on the video. They were just
Yes, and good
not
for them.
having it.
Good for them. And here's the other thing. I remember back in the day when it was the evangelical Christians doing this, when you gave the abstinence lectures and stuff, and it was just as cringy. I remember back in the day when the Dead Poet Society phenomena wasn't just confined to the movie, but was actually an on the ground thing that happened. But the thing is, the social justice warriors don't seem to understand that they are the modern day equivalent of the, Bible thumping evangelicals forcing their morality into every nook and cranny of civilization. Well, just like the, goth movement and punk movement arose out of a contempt for, moralizing family values evangelical bullshit, the, anti-SJW, to dust off an old meme, the Kekistan movement is is a natural and organic response to to social justice being morally meddling fuckwits. People don't like public displays of morality, period. Morality belongs in the private sphere, and, society will organically, emerge from that without need to be expedited in either way. But if you make yourselves prudish, moralistic, authoritarian fuckwits, don't be surprised when the youth culture defines itself in opposition to you morons.
Yeah. There's also another incident that's been making the news lately. This is what I was telling you about a bit before we started. This was in, I believe, Burlington, Massachusetts. And what happened was a school was having a thing for Pride Month. I'll give you the basics. I'm going to look at the article. But they had encouraged their students to dress up in rainbow colors. Instead, what a bunch of students did was they dressed up in red, white, and blue, said my pronouns were USA, and they tore down some of the Pride posters.
So they were
And
trolling.
basically, yeah, they were trolling and they held a counter protest. And, you know, the teachers were upset. They said this was disruptive, and that it was bullying to the you know gay, lesbian, bi, trans students, and that
Okay,
the
how
school
many of the
found
gay,
bigotry.
lesbian, bi, and trans students were with the protesters on this? Because I'm sure there were some.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that the children gave for doing this is said that when the whole pride thing was going on, like they said that it's supposed to be inclusive, but they didn't feel included.
And there's the rub. We will include everyone except anyone who disagrees with us on the slightest thing. Hmm.
See, I have this from the post millennial. My pronouns are USA. Massachusetts middle school. These are middle school students. Tries to make children wear rainbow clothing for pride. Students revolt, wear red, white, and blue. Let's see. Woke teachers were outraged during a recent meeting of the Burlington Select Board after a contentious incident at Marshall Simmons Middle School last week. Principal Kari Purchase revealed that some students had organized an independent countermeasure to LGBTQ pride festivities. The school attempted to make students wear rainbow colors to celebrate Pride, but many students revolted. Counter-protesting students wore red, white, and blue or black attire, including face paint. Man, they went all out. Additionally, stickers, banners, and signs were reportedly torn down and discarded into water fountains. My pronouns are USA, the kids chanted. I wonder how many quote unquote LGBTQ students actually took part in this.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If you happen to be gay but you don't support the gay identity, quote unquote, you get accused of Stockholm syndrome and self hatred, which is what the internalized homophobia or internalized, demographic hatred thing always means. It means you are a traitor to your own kind, you have Stockholm syndrome, you've been turned against your own self interest, and you can't be expected to be a rational actor in your own right, which is
That's the same.
bullshit.
It's exactly the same kind of flack they send at you if you don't agree with BLM and you're black.
Yeah. Or if you don't support feminism as a woman, then you're, internalized misogyny, pick me, yada yada yada. So yeah, it's what they do. They presuppose that there's some sort of ideological demographic hive mind that, you know, all people of a certain demographic are possessed by the demon of whatever demographic they are, and if you don't conform to their definition of you, then not only are you a traitor to your own demographic, but you're possessed by the secret, the whiteness demon, quote unquote. And yeah, no, white men are also not a hive mind, but never mind that. Gay people aren't a hive mind. Black people aren't a hive mind. Asian people are not. It, like, and this is and getting back to the family thing you mentioned earlier with the whole Italian nationalism thing. These people absolutely fucking hate the concept of like family loyalty or nuclear family. So they don't think that you have any loyalty to you know, your immediate family or even your extended family. And yet, despite believing in quite a lot of cases rightly, I'm not gonna disparage the idea that you have to be, slavishly devoted to your nuclear family. I'm not gonna say that. But these people don't believe that you owe any loyalty whatsoever to your immediate nuclear family, and yet they will presuppose that you do have some kind of inherent fealty to a demographic that is millions of people strong. I.e., you're not allowed to identify with your parents or your brothers or your sisters, but you are supposed to. It's considered a virtue to identify with every person who shares the same demographic identity as you. How the fuck does that make sense? Like, even as a logical supposition by itself. I agree that the family isn't some, cult that you should have slavish devotion to, because, you know, there are times when you don't have anything in common with your nuclear family. There are times when nuclear families have been known to be abusive. yada yada yada.
Well,
But
one of the things I've heard regarding this is that because in the past a lot of gay people were rejected by their families for being gay, they see that the idea of family as inherently oppressive.
yeah, and if you live in bumfuck Alabama and you do get thrown out of your house by your, Bible thumping father or mother, by all means, defoo away, because that makes perfect sense. But what I'm saying is, SJWs writ large, not even just the gay ones, but SJWs writ large will have contempt for the idea that the people you grew up with and biologically constitute you have nothing in common with, but you're supposed to have things in common with the oversoul of your demographic. That doesn't follow at all. Like if you're going the hard individualist route of the loyalties you have are people who actually resemble you, there should be some leeway for people who philosophically or internally resemble you, not just externally resemble you. Certainly not if you don't pay attention to the family at all. Like surely if any of these groups have any sway, it should be the nuclear family rather than the million strong demographic that you're just happen to be part of.
Yeah, I think another thing is that families, if they care about you, are going to try and stop you from doing things that they believe would be harmful to you. No matter how much you might think that, oh, this is a good thing, or they just don't understand. Like if I was like doing something that I really wanted to do, but my family believed was deeply wrong for me, like everyone in my family would do everything they can to stop me. Not because they're trying to oppress me, but because they care about me and don't want me to do something that is destructive.
Now that can certainly go wrong, as per the
It can
aforementioned. Yeah,
go wrong, but a lot of what I'm seeing is that parents may not necessarily want their children to go through with say like transgenderism because as we've gone through before, there are a lot of issues associated with that, especially in regards to hormones and
yeah,
puberty
there are
blockers and
lasting
surgeries.
consequences to transitioning that can't just be turned off.
Yeah, so I see them. A lot of them are trying to like break the bond with the family so that the person isn't going to listen to the family who cares about them. They're going to listen to the person who affirms their decision.
Which in I know it's a bit of a straw man, but that's very similar to the idea of, listen to the witch in the gingerbread cottage who tells you should be eating candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's totally not going to come back to you to bite you in the ass or anything. Oh wait, no, she was fattening you up, and now you're in the oven. Who could have guessed?
Yeah, but there's more to the article, so we'll keep reading. Woke faculty members characterize the students' refusal to bend to the rainbow mafia as intolerance. And it does kind of operate like a mafia. Like, it's a nice business you have here. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it if you
or
don't put
or
up this
or,
flag.
or a church or a church. Oh, you want to apostatize from the congregation? Well, good luck wandering in the wilderness of 1692 and so on.
Triggered community members shared their reactions to the incident during the meeting, with one parent, Carl Foss, expressing his disappointment by stating, I thought Burlington was a safer place. It's an institution of learning. You're not going to be safe from this um, divergent ideas.
The world unfortunately contains more things in it than you would be comfortable with. Oh no, how dare it?
Joanne Fristacci, a Burlington resident, complained to local news that it was an unruly disruptions. There have been far worse disruptions, some of which have been described as fiery but mostly peaceful.
Yeah, well, there's that. And here's the other half of it. I remember back in the day when the, sort of the groundswell of Dead Poet Society syndrome was going on, and these very same people, the very same people who were shoving pride down kids' throats now, were cheering the stand on the desk for the sake of civil disobedience. We're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. But when it's them who are in charge, when it's them who've won the moral argument, then all of a sudden they're then all of a sudden it's not listen to the truths out of the mouths of babes. It's, oh, how dare these ignorant primitive children be disruptive. I'm being consistent. I side with both of these sets of kids. Like, I oppose moral grandstanding in the public sphere, no matter which way it's pointing or who does it. But you people were cheering when it was, Daria and Dead Poet Society and Freedom Writers and Patch Adams and all that nonsense standing up against the TradCon Christians, and so much the better. Again, but does it not occur to you that the times have changed and that now you are the greater good and the moral aristocracy? And does it not occur to you that in the same way as, the famous Christian rap where, Jesus Christ is an N-word with a soft A was cringy for the kids of the 80s and 90s, now it's the aforementioned Rainbow Mafia that is the morally meddling, pearl clutching, prudish nonsense. And just like then, the teenagers who prize, freedom of expression, freedom of thought, irreverence, and so on, are going to target that irreverence towards those who are doing moral meddling, which in this case is the social justice warriors. Someday, I hope, we'll get to a point where no one tries to morally meddle in the public sphere, but, we're apparently still not there yet.
A lot of these, things, like, people wouldn't even care about if they were just doing it with the people who wanted to be involved with it. But it's being forced upon the general public, people who didn't ask for it and don't want to be a part of it. And then they say, well, if you don't take part in this, you are a morally bad person and you must be, called out, insulted, shunned, and ostracized.
Yeah, just like back in the day, no one cares if some students want to have a prayer group after school or something. But when we can't learn about evolution because it contradicts the Bible, at that point it becomes toxic and moral meddling. And fuck off, please.
I recognize that discussions and celebrations of individual identity are complex and impacted by individual values, religions, and cultural norms, the results of which may include expressions of racism, anti-religious hate. I just want to, harp on that for a second because these people don't give a damn, if they do something that insults, Christianity, as it was mentioned last stream, the so-called group, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Like they don't give a damn about,
Freaking
anti-religious hate.
Slaneshi. It's again, I don't want the Eye of Terror. Do you want the Eye of Terror? This is how you get the Eye of Terror.
I can see where the Kraftwerk Eldar fled to ableism, and in this case, homophobia. Superintendent Eric M. Conti wrote in a groveling letter. They actually have the letter here if you want me to read it.
Okay, yes, but before you do, can I just say, as someone who is both disabled physically, I have cerebral palsy, and someone who is gay, fuck off. Don't use me as a human shield or an ideological one. Moving on.
Also, according to the information in the article, like the students, like, I mean, yeah, they tore down the pride stuff, well, because quite frankly, it's annoying. But they didn't say anything that was, against, being gay.
And again, I'm curious if there were any gay students who weren't in favor of pride, because I know they exist because I am one of such people. And I mean the phenomena of gays against groomers or the LGB alliance. They also those gay people who just want to be gay and live their lives as a gay person exist. The ones who aren't activists, the ones who aren't political, the ones who don't force their morality down people's throats, like the church of yesteryear.
Yeah, the people who actually just want to live their lives and just be left alone.
The people for whom, the libertarian populist argument of yesteryear wasn't just a tactic, and that's the thing. It seems like so many of the modern Karens are the same, Daria-esque goth chicks who opposed the Helen Lovejoys back in the day. And I'm grateful for them for opposing the Helen Lovejoys, but did it ever occur to you that principles are supposed to apply equally to us and them? It's not just one rule for them, one rule for me, i.e., you can't, force the tradcon evangelicals out on their ear and then, replace their church with your own church. Some people when they were saying I don't want to affiliate with any church were serious and consistent with that principle.
All right, I'm gonna read the letter.
Mm-hmm.
A thought just occurred to me. Do you think while they were having this counter protest, do you think any of the students were saying "Happy Stolzmanat"?
I I wouldn't put it past them because I remember what it's like to be a teenager, and especially I can definitely imagine a teenager raised on the ethos of 4chan and Kekistan and all the anti-SJW stuff from like 2017 or so on. Um, I have faith in the ability of the I have faith in the weaponized autism, but I don't know. It does seem like a fresh meme, so it might take a while before it fully catches on. But I have faith in the weaponized autism. So praise be to the youth who speak truth with weaponized autism.
See, uh, this came out in on June 4th. It's a while ago. Dear Burlington community, one of the core values of the Burlington Public Schools, including Marshall Simmons Middle School, is our respect for human difference. We are committed to acknowledging and celebrating the diversity that makes up our community, and we strive every day to make our schools a place where anyone can feel safe and welcome. The rise in anti LGBTQ violence across the country is unacceptable and has no place in our schools. I would say
Okay,
that the rise in violence is mostly due to the fact that when people said don't show this to our kids, people said no, we're going to show it to your kids.
yeah, the "We Will Convert Your Children" song springs to mind. But here's the other thing. Again, and I feel like we're broken records on this point, but it's an important point to revisit every now and again. Does your love of diversity and difference between people ever include framework diversity, ideological diversity, or moral diversity? Or is it a case where you can have all the different decals you want, all the different demographics you want, as long as everyone toes the same ideological line? Fucking startling how that works. You can have every kind of diversity you want, except where it matters, except inside your own head. I
See,
I'm not saying that I'm not trying to make a false dichotomy here. But if it's a choice between ideological diversity and demographic diversity, I would much rather have ideological diversity. And again, I'm not closing off the other options here. I'm not instituting a false dichotomy. You can have someone who is demographically diverse and ideologically diverse. But if your proposition is let's get rid of all the ideological diversity and replace it with identity diversity, fuck off, please.
let's see. We recognize that intolerance can manifest in many different ways, apparently by celebrating America. And unfortunately, our school community experienced intolerance during the school day on Friday. Students who participated in the Spectrum Club led a celebration of National Pride Month that included posters in support of identity pride and other symptoms of the LGBTQ plus community, such as rainbow flags in closing. Here's the thing: if the club just wanted to have its own party, no one would have cared. It's the fact that they did this for the entire school.
It's the all your morality are belong to us approach. We are bored, you will be assimilated. It's that nonsense. Also, again, as far as I can tell, the only intolerance that came up was from the freaking faculty. Just like back in the day when people pulled the Dead Poet Society and stood on their desks, it was the faculty being moralistic fucktards and forcing the Bible and the cross down people's throats that were the problem. Well, now it's the people. Just because your religion is a secular or materialist religion doesn't change the fact that we live in a world or we live in a country that's supposed to be separated from every church. Separation of church and state. Except, your approach is, well, my religion is secular, so there's no problem with it being instituted. Or, more aptly, we should separate the state from every church except mine, somehow.
I would argue that this ideology has become more cult-like than the church.
Well, it depends on what era of the church we're talking about. I think we're slowly but surely coming up on medieval church levels of genocidal hypocrisy here.
Yeah. But let's see. Unfortunately, some of these symbols were damaged on Friday during the school day by some students. The Spectrum Club is one of the many interest-based clubs where students who share similar interests, along with allies, God, I hate the term allies, can gather and support one another. Then why don't they just do it by themselves? Like
Also,
any,
if the more nationalist minded kids wanted to create a nationalist club, would that be acceptable, or would they be blacklisted overnight because we don't take kindly to nationalism around these parts, boy?
yeah,
Because
I'm
I,
pretty
I,
sure.
I suspect it would.
I'm pretty sure if they wanted to start an American club, they'd be shut down immediately.
It would be treated like the freaking Hitler Youth in the press. I would put money on it.
Like any Spirit Day celebration at MSMS, participation is optional. Really, because you weren't treating it like it was optional. Respectful behavior across the entire student body, however, is non-negotiable. I recognize that discussions and celebrations of individual identity are complex and impacted by. We read that part.
Does that ever include the faculty? Does the faculty ever have to get the fuck over themselves and respect the students' free fucking will at all?
Is it because a lot of the teachers are like very stringent regarding this. Like they will like accept no talkback, no dissent. You shut up and listen to what they have to say, if you don't, they'll punish you.
You will wear the rainbow flag. You will support the BLM. You you will have no national pride and be happy about it, or else.
These seems like it seems like a lot of teachers today are just petty, vindictive people who will wield any power they can against anyone they can.
Yeah, they're not educators. They're father confessors, basically. It's not we're trying to educate people on the way the world actually is or the way logic actually works. It's we are here to basically be a social justice madrasa, basically.
Or they're kind of like commissars, to use a 40K reference. You will adhere to the values of the Imperium, or you will suffer the consequences.
Yeah. the we're not to the burning people at the stake period just yet, but I I might actually live long enough to see it.
See, the Burlington Public Schools are obligated to provide a safe environment for all students to feel safe, seen, and respected without retaliation. Well, the people who were doing this weren't feeling safe or seen. That's why they did it in the first place.
Yeah, you ever hear the expression protest is the language of the unheard? Oh wait, yes you have, because that's an ideological supposition that you guys came out with. And again, all I'm asking is for everyone to live by the same freaking rules, and the rules should apply universally. If you believe that protest is the language of those who are feeling unrepresented and unheard, then you don't get to cut your pearls when people who are unrepresented in a way you don't like show up.
Let's see. We ask all staff, teachers, and members of the Burlington Public School community to join us in taking a stand against homophobia and identity-directed hateful actions. Are you gonna do something when you know LGBTQ students like insult straight students? Because I know, because I've seen a lot of hateful comments directed towards straight people from gay people online. Like, it's really some vicious stuff.
And by the way, as a gay person, trust me when I say we are not all like that. And those gay people who do insult straight people should be fucking ashamed.
Let's see. We also recognize that it is not enough to publicly denounce these incidents as they happen. Oh God, what do I get a bad feeling about what's coming next?
Yeah, I get the feeling that that moon we're staring at is going to turn out to be a space station here shortly.
As a school system, we have a unique opportunity to educate our community on the nature of these events. The work we do in the Burlington Public Schools and MSMS is not easy. It often leads to difficult and uncomfortable conversations. Nevertheless, we encourage you to discuss the differences with your families to try and make sense of how one's actions can impact others. Let's see, there's more.
Including the teachers having an impact on the students by being ideological harridans.
Let's see. The Burlington Public Schools believe in the individual dignity and humanity of each and every person in our community. We embrace everyone for who they are and for what they bring to our schools and larger community.
And
Our
yet you're
staff,
starting a moral panic about some people who have national pride. Interesting.
yeah, something that could apply to literally everybody in your school. Our staff have and will continue to receive resources, materials, and training to help identify and respond to identity, bigotry, and discrimination. They're going to train to be better commissars. As these lessons extend beyond the classroom,
Yeah,
where else could you,
and
as
the
you're,
lesson you're teaching these irreverent, individualistic kids is the powers that be hate your guts and want you to fuck off. Gee, I hope that doesn't completely backfire on you just like it did against the TradCon Christians back in the day.
I think they're going to start forcing this on like other clubs and sports teams, like how in the NHL they all have those rainbow uniforms that the players refuse to wear.
Again, I just want to make this perfectly clear. I am gay, but I am not LGBT, and that's not because I have any problems with anyone who might, be in any of those letters or exemplified by any of those letters. I have trans friends. I have had lesbian friends in the past, etc., etc. It's because gay people are not a hive mind. LGBT people are not a hive mind. And anyone who insists on making us a hive mind will have my middle finger jammed squarely into their face.
As these lessons extend beyond the classroom, we invite all students, parents, guardians, and other community members to participate in this ongoing dialogue. A list of resources on how to talk to adults and children about identity hate is available below. Let us all work on being kinder to each other. Sincerely, Eric M. Conti, PhD Superintendent. Go screw yourself, Eric.
Should the teachers have been kinder to the flag identifying individuals, the USA identifying individuals? Because that's the only unkindness I'm seeing here. And here's the other thing. I think we've stated it before, but there's no reason why someone couldn't support both of these things. Someone can be proud of being an American and also just as proud of being gay.
It goes on in the article to note that the school did not recognize Memorial Day when it came around.
Well, that's telling, isn't it? You can wear any smattering of colors you like on a flag, but if you wear the ones that actually relate to the country we're in, then you are fascist somehow.
See, I was shocked and horrified, said Neela Armstrong to NBC 10. noting that she is parent of an LGBTQ student who goes by he/they pronouns. I'm betting it's a girl, because just by the numbers.
I don't know. I don't need to know, and I don't need to care. Um, but frankly, again, why are you shocked? Why are you horrified? Nothing bad happened. And moralistically pearl clutching about this is only going to make the fact that something will go wrong and confirm your fears more likely. Because the more stridently you oppose any form of pride that isn't LGBT, the more the stupider among people are eventually going to conflate the, activist lobby and the demographic. And when that happens, people like me are going to get lynched, regardless of the fact that we don't believe in any of this shit. Regardless of the fact that while we might be gay, we're anti social justice. But by that time, the battle lines will have been run so tightly around everything that people will not even believe me when I say I can be gay without being a social justice warrior. And people like you are the reason why. Because while I truly believe in the goodness of humanity and the ability of people to think for themselves, there will always be a certain number of stupid people who will buy the propaganda wholesale, who will embrace the straw man. And when that happens, it will basically become a self-fulfilling prophecy. By treating people who aren't radicals like they are, you're just going to make radicalism look more and more legitimate. And if I have to die because you people will not stop conflating the LGBT activism hive mind with actually just being LGB or T, I'm going to haunt your asses.
Yeah,
I will spend a death curse on this if I have to.
and here's the thing: like, do they really think that trying to beat this ideology down with propaganda is going to make students less interested or care less about national pride? No, it's the thing that their parents and educators don't want them to be interested in that always attracts young people the most.
And there's good reason for that, because by the time you're an adult, you've bought into a lot of the bullshit norms of civilization, and oftentimes you will conflate things that should be acceptable with things that shouldn't be. And that's why it's good that the generation gap does exist like this. It's good that when the tradcons went overboard in the previous generation, you had the goth movement and the punk movement to counterbalance them. It's good that you have the Kekistani movement, the High Lobster movement, and the like um Stoll's Minot movement to counterbalance all this all the social justice bullshit, because you can keep this is the thing. So often you'll have norms exist solely because someone somewhere conflated a good and necessary thing with an ideologically bullcrap thing. And so the youth, being as they see with somewhat fresh eyes, are able to look at the thing and go, okay, this half of this is valid, this other half is bullshit. So let's get rid of the bullshit half and move on without it. That's it. There's a phrase that doesn't get used enough. It is the phrase "from the mouths of babes," and this is why. It's because while children might not be the most educated people in the world, they are good at spotting where the previous generation might have gotten some things wrong, or where the paradigm of the older generation might have gotten stale and dilapidated over the years.
Yeah, and I see a lot of like the I mentioned the trans person that got banned from the White House. Like, she put out a statement. Well,
Okay.
she put out a statement, and they said that um you know they felt like they should be able to do that because it made them feel more free, more unrestricted, and more like their authentic selves. And I'm like saying, like, no one in society gets to be free and unrestricted. No one gets to be their true and authentic selves unless they're completely alone. Because in society, We recognize that we have to limit our behavior in order to live and work together.
Yeah, and if you wanna loosen that paradigm, all the more power to you. But how's about you loosen it for everyone instead of just you, instead of just your preferred demographic? It's one of the reasons I'm a men's rights advocate at the end of the day, because we spent the previous century bequeathing unto women a freedom that had not been known throughout all of human history, but we left men's rights and men's responsibilities exactly the fuck where they were for at least the recent the previous 200 years. My thought process is, if we want to loosen the rules, if we want to loosen the hold that norms have over society, good, let's do it universally. Let's do it for everyone. But instead
I
of that, it's this, well, I get my preferred bullshit, but don't you dare extend that freedom to anyone else, or you're a bad person, derp.
I would also say that it's one thing to loosen them; it's another thing to loosen them too far.
Or to
Because
invert them, which is the other
yes,
half of that.
like if you go too far with something, you didn't just loosen it, and now it's in danger of falling apart.
And as usual, I have to bring out the concept of a false dichotomy. So much of the problem with all of this activism is, instead of actively trying to decouple the existing norm, all they want to do is create the dark mirror version of it, and that's a false dichotomy. There is a gray area between hardcore tradcon family values bullshit and hardcore social justice. It's where we were living in the 90s and 2000s. That's why the 90s and 2000s were a goddamn golden age by comparison to now. Because rather than go, okay, we have a bunch of white, so let's change everything to black. Um, Before, in the 80s and 90s, the idea was both of the extremes, both of the extreme examples would be bullshit. So let's explore the spectrum that exists between black and white. Let's explore the gray, and let's explore, not to mention, all the other colors of the rainbow. Because that's how you truly update norms. That's how you truly get away from norms that it becomes strangling and dilapidating. You don't invert them to some kind of dark mirror version of themselves. You take away the legitimacy of either version of that, because usually when two things have everything except their color scheme in common, it's because they're both founded on some kind of ideological bullshit, i.e., don't become Stepford, from the movie Stepford Wives, but don't become Slap City either. That there is a meaningful middle ground here, just like there's a meaningful middle ground between communism and fascism. There's liberalism, libertarianism, Randian objectivism, etc. There's a bunch of reasonable middle places you can stop, and you just don't want to for some reason.
Yeah, and you have to listen to the people that are also in your society. Like, you know, when when the other people in your society say, like, you guys are going too far with this, and then you just ignore them and keep pushing, you're going to push society to a point where they can no longer support you. And if you keep pushing beyond that, you're going to give them no choice but then to start pushing back against you, because now they'll be living in a society that they don't want to live in. And it's especially when you are pushing on something that people care about more than themselves, like their children.
Or their entertainment, or their culture, or their national identity. And, like, again, there is not a single vector of human civilization that these ideologies don't want to touch. And that in and of itself is the problem. The idea that everything must be one thing or it's immoral. Never mind the middle pillar there, because in philosophy 101 we were taught a very important distinction, and I'm glad we were taught it: the difference between moral, immoral, and the middle ground, which was non-moral, i.e., there are simply things to which morality does not and should not be applied, period. Like, for example, chewing gum. Is chewing gum moral or immoral?
I'm sure they'll
It,
find a way, Dalton.
it's neither. And this is my problem with both the extreme Bible thumping evangelical traditionalists and the extreme, deconstructionalist, subvertive, social justice warriors. They want to exclude the middle category. They don't want anything to be outside of the realms of morality. It either has to be grouped into the realm of moral or immoral.
Yeah. So we've been going for an hour. Do you have any thoughts on Stolzmann and national pride and other alternate forms of civic pride?
National pride and civic pride are good things. Fuck ethno-nationalism in every conceivable hole, but civic pride and national pride and civic nationalism are good things. But to be fair, we will be watching you, Germany. Just be, I don't want to see any blood flags over there. And if I catch you going springtime over there, we will arm the nukes, okay? Like, good for you for finally getting over the white guilt, but we will be watching you, yeah.
Yeah. Don't listen to the unsuccessful artists. And
don't listen to Richard Spencer, ever, about anything.
Well, nobody listens to Richard Spencer anymore at this point.
Nor should they, but just to be clear, don't listen to Richard Spencer, don't listen to J.F. Garrity, don't listen to, what's the other guy, Edgy Spinks, don't listen to any of those guys, don't listen to Andrew Eglin, but yes, nationalism is a good thing, and more importantly, nationalism should be something that everyone has access to, because every country brings something unique, every culture and every country brings something unique and valuable to the world that only they can bring.
Yes, it really does make me upset when classic and long held traditions or symbols of a country that I have found very interesting you know gets thrown aside because the new leaders of that country want to be more quote unquote open and globalistic and be citizens of the world.
Yeah, I don't like Hitler, but nor do I particularly care for Angela Merkel either. I don't like Mussolini, but I don't particularly care for Klaus Schwab or Guy Verhofstadt or Jean Claude Juncker either.
Yeah. So for the Duality of Man, I have been Mystery.
I have been Dalton Mortimer, the Authenticator, and we will be watching you, Germany. Don't fuck it up for the rest of us.
Yeah, my eye on you. Later.
Cheers, guys.